In this series of videos, we're going to talk about hydrocarbons, how to name hydrocarbons, and functional groups. So to start off with, a hydrocarbon is simply a molecule that contains only hydrogen and carbon. We're only going to talk about one type of hydrocarbons, and these are alkanes. Alkanes are hydrocarbons in which all the carbon atoms in the molecule have 4 single bonds. So carbon forms 4 bonds. When it's going to bond to a chain of carbons, it's going to look something like this, where one of the bonds goes to another carbon. The general formula for hydrocarbons is shown here. The number of hydrogens can be found by taking the number of carbons times 2 and then adding 2. So, for example, asphalt has 70 carbons. To determine how many hydrogens there would be in asphalt, you would take 2 times 70 and then add 2. So there's 142 hydrogens in asphalt. In mineral oil, there are 15 carbons. So 2 times 15 is 30, plus 2 more, that's 32. So mineral oil would have 32 hydrogens. What if you are given the number of hydrogens instead and asked to find the number of carbons? Well, just got to do a little algebra. So wax has 76 hydrogens. So we can solve our little equation for n this time. So 76 equals 2n plus 2. So subtract 2 from both sides. 74 equals 2n. Divide both sides by 2. N is 37. There are 37 carbons in candle wax. The next thing we're going to talk about is isomers. We've actually discussed these before. These are compounds that have the same molecular formula but different structures. Remember that prefix iso means same. So these are items that are the same thing but with different structures. When you look at the isomers of different hydrocarbons, it gets exponentially more complicated. When you're looking at just a 1-carbon chain, there's only one way to draw that. Same with a 2-carbon chain, there's only one way to draw a 2-carbon chain. 3-carbon chain, same thing. Still only one way to draw a 3-carbon chain. Now, a 3-carbon chain ends up looking a little interesting because it looks like a little puppy, a little propane puppy, if you will. Here's his little ears and his nose and his legs. The only thing I don't like about this little animation is that his legs should be flipped there, but that kind of looks like a puppy. All right, when you get to C4H10, there are 2 different ways to draw that. We'll get to that in a second. C5H12, you could draw 3 different isomers of that compound. C6H14, you could draw 5 different isomers of that. C9H20, 35 isomers. 13 carbons would have 802 isomers, and a compound that has 20 carbons, there would be 366,319 different ways to draw that compound. So the more carbons you get in the carbon chain, the more possible isomers there could be. So next we're going to talk about how to name these different hydrocarbons using the back of your functional group sheet.